New York City in winter doesn't forgive. The wind cuts like broken glass. The sidewalks freeze into stone, and the nights feel endless. Under the dim orange glow of a street lamp in Brooklyn, Marcus Reed pulled his thin jacket tighter around his chest. It wasn't enough. It hadn't been enough for a long time. Once, Marcus had an apartment in Queens, a steady construction job, a fiancé who loved Central Park in spring. But layoffs came, medical bills followed, and life unraveled faster than he could hold it together. Now his home was a narrow stretch of sidewalk near a closed deli. His bed flattened cardboard. His only warmth, a worn gray blanket he guarded like treasure. That blanket was survival. That night, the forecast warned of the worst snowstorm in years. Subway grates steamed. Sirens echoed in the distance. Snow began falling thick and fast. Most people hurried indoors. Marcus had nowhere to hurry to. He wrapped himself tightly and leaned against the brick wall, trying to disappear into it. That's when he heard it. A faint sound, almost lost beneath the wind. A tiny cry. At first, he thought it was the wind twisting through an alley. But then it came again. Weak, desperate. Marcus slowly stood and followed the sound toward a pile of trash bags near the corner. Snow had already begun covering them. He knelt, and there, barely visible beneath a torn cardboard box, was a tiny gray and white kitten. Its fur was soaked, its body trembling violently, its eyes barely open. Someone had left it there, in the storm, to die. Marcus looked down at the kitten. The kitten looked back at him. For a long moment, neither moved. Marcus knew what cold felt like. He knew what abandonment felt like too. "Hey there, little one," he whispered. The kitten tried to meow, but only a soft breath came out. Marcus looked at his blanket, then back at the kitten. That blanket meant surviving the night. Without it, he might not. The wind howled harder. Snow thickened. Marcus made his choice. He gently lifted the kitten and wrapped it inside his gray blanket. He tucked the tiny body against his chest, shielding it from the wind with his own back. Immediately, the kitten stopped trembling as violently. Marcus, however, began to. The cold hit him like knives. His fingers went numb. His teeth chattered uncontrollably. But he didn't unwrap the blanket. Not even once. "Stay with me," he whispered to the kitten. "Just stay." Hours passed. The storm grew merciless. Snow buried sidewalks. Streetlights flickered through white haze. Marcus sat curled around the kitten, shivering violently. His body weakened, but every time he felt the kitten's tiny heartbeat against his chest, he held on. Morning finally came, gray and silent. The storm had passed, and Marcus was barely conscious. A young woman named Elena stepped out of her apartment building across the street. She worked as a freelance photographer. The storm had transformed the city into something surreal and quiet. She lifted her camera, and that's when she saw him. A man curled against a wall, covered in snow, holding something close to his chest. She approached cautiously. "Sir?" Marcus didn't respond, but something inside the blanket moved. A tiny paw slipped out. Elena gasped. She quickly brushed snow away and saw the kitten wrapped inside the blanket, warm and alive. Marcus's lips were pale, his hands nearly frozen. "He gave it his blanket," she whispered. Without thinking, she snapped a photo. Not for fame, not for likes, but because in that brutal winter scene, there was something beautiful. An ambulance was called. Both Marcus and the kitten were taken in. Mild hypothermia, the doctors said, but they would recover. Elena couldn't stop thinking about what she'd seen. That night, she posted the photo. The image showed a homeless man snow covering his shoulders, cradling a tiny kitten inside his only blanket. Her caption was simple. He had nothing, and he gave it anyway. By morning, the photo had exploded across social media. Thousands shared it. Then millions. Comments flooded in. Strangers offered help. Animal shelters offered to take the kitten. People offered Marcus work. Donations poured into a small fundraiser Elena created. News stations picked up the story. The man who gave his only blanket. But Marcus didn't see himself as a hero. When reporters finally asked him why he did it, he shrugged softly. It was colder for her than it was for me. Within a week, everything changed. A construction company owner recognized Marcus from years ago. He offered him a job. An elderly woman who had lost her husband donated enough for Marcus to secure a small studio apartment. And the kitten? Marcus named her Hope, because that's what she had given him. The first night in his new apartment, Marcus sat on the floor. There was no furniture yet, just quiet, warmth, and a tiny gray and white kitten curled in his lap. Hope purred loudly, her tiny paw resting on his hand. Marcus stared around the room, overwhelmed, not by the walls, but by the second chance. Months later, spring came to New York. Central Park bloomed again. Marcus walked through it, clean clothes, steady job, small smile. Hope rode safely in a soft carrier by his side. He sat on a bench beneath cherry blossoms. People passed by, unaware. But Marcus knew. Everything had changed the night he chose kindness over survival. He looked down at Hope. She looked back at him with calm green eyes. "You saved me too," he whispered. Because sometimes, when you have nothing and you still choose to give, the universe notices. Kindness is never wasted. It may return as warmth, or opportunity, or a tiny heartbeat against your chest in the middle of a snowstorm, but it always returns.